everybody, and welcome to Block 2, Week 1. Now, as I told you guys last week, I'm going to do something a little bit different in this block. Today, I want to show you how my unit went from 2 traditional mode units in different disciplines into one block mode unit ready for delivery by Block 2. The process is not as simple as you may have thought, but it's probably also not as complex. So, something a little bit different today. I'm going to pop down to that corner there and you're going to watch live as I show you exactly the documentation that I had to go through to get my unit up and running and what my unit looks like today. Let's go. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what was called the design document. Every unit that was modified for the block mode went through 2 stages. The design phase, which involved working with the discipline college to make sure all accreditation requirements were met and the integrity of the unit stayed the same. Once a unit had been approved in the design stage, it then moved on to the development stage, which is what you see live in the spaces today. Now, my unit here, Interpersonal Skills and Communication, was one of the more unique units. Its previous traditional model wasn't just one unit, but it was 2 separate units that had been identified that they essentially taught the same principles, and thus they were combined into one unit. One was a psychology unit called Interpersonal Skills 1, and one was a social work unit called Interpersonal Skills and Communication. The hardest part of designing and developing this unit was adhering to 2 strict accreditation requirements. So, you can see here that there was a proposed unit description and the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes had to be agreed with ahead of time because they are essentially the contract we have with the students that say we're going to teach you these outcomes in these units. Once these had been designed and developed, they were very difficult to change, and any changes had to be approved by the course advisory group for the appropriate discipline. I know that it's quite small here, but I've tried to make it so you can see the whole big picture, but let's zoom in a little. The section below is where I had to justify what the overarching principles of the unit were, followed by the new design. This is what had changed from the old design. Now, I was a little bit lucky. Both these units were already practical-based workshops. I just had to amalgamate them, update them so they were cool and relevant for today's students, and add a lot of online components. The next step involved outlining the assessments, how much each assessment was worth, and the breakdown of what those assessments entailed. And finally, in the design phase, you had to do a rough guideline of each of the 11 sessions that you would be conducting over the block. This improved the pre-class activities, the in-class teacher-driven activities, the in-class student-driven activities, and the post-class and complementary activities. You also had to show a breakdown for when which assignment was due. I was a little bit ambitious here because I was trying really hard to appease the discipline colleges, and neither of them wanted to change their program too much. Since the design of this unit, this has been modified to fit into the block mode a little bit more better. So that's the design phase. I managed to get this design ticked off and approved pretty quickly. And I was lucky because the discipline colleges did help out and communicate with me a lot about what they needed to stay the same. Which brings me to, what does this unit look like today? Well, here you've got our VU Collaborate space. This is what the students see. So when they first click on Interpersonal Skills and Communication, this is the page that will come up. You can see I've put a reminder here. Due to the facilities available at Footscray Nicholson, they're actually a little bit better than the facilities at Footscray Park, especially for the practical components of this unit. So this course actually runs at Footscray Nicholson. A lot of students may not have realised that on their timetable. I know I didn't when I was checking the rooms. And therefore, I thought I'd better put a shout out so everybody went to the right campus on the first day of class. I also attached a map so they could see where Footscray Nicholson was in comparison to Footscray Park. So they're not too far away. If you click on the learning space, I'm just going to walk through what the unit looks like now. Next week, I'm going to walk you through how I've scaffolded the assessments and how I've made it so hopefully it's an easy procedure for all the students involved. The first page will bring you straight to the table of contents. Starts off with a welcome message and a welcome video. Every unit has a welcome video because students can get to know the unit convener, put a face to a name a little bit better, and it's just that little bit more personal. It shows that we care a little bit more, and it was great fun to film. Most of the topics that are covered in the video are also covered in text below here. Now, you can see here, week 2, week 3, and week 4 are in draft. That's because I didn't want to overwhelm the students, and I'm releasing the content week by week. As we're now on mid-semester break, as of Sunday, week 2 will go live. If you click on week 1, you'll see that it divides into the 3 sessions with a brief topic title of what each session is about. At the start of week 1, there is a learning schedule about the concepts and topics we aim to cover, the aims of what we will do this week, as well as any learning activities. If you continue to scroll down, there is a breakdown by session by session. Every session contains a checklist, in-class activities, assessment information, and bonus materials. The checklist is a great tool to make sure students are really staying on top of what they need to do. You can see here that I can outline what needs to be done before class, in class, and after class. To make this even easier for my students, all the activities that have a link attached to them can be clicked just like this, and it will take you directly to the page that you need to make sure that you've covered. It's almost impossible to muck up. One of the key characteristics of the first year model is we've strayed away from PowerPoint. As much as possible, no units are using PowerPoint anymore. Instead, we're using these interactive activities called H5Ps. What an H5P does is it allows you to input the data straight into the space so students don't have to download anything, but it also allows you to add hotspots if you want to add more information that may be bonus, and it allows you to attach links to Padlets, to websites, and to videos. This one is a little bit dull as it's just what is this unit about, but there's definitely some that are way more engaging. If you skip ahead to session 2, I can show you one. One of the awesome features about these H5Ps is students are able to take notes directly into the H5P, and then at the end of it, they are given the option to export text, and this will download the entire H5P with all their handwritten notes included. This means students are paying way more attention in class because they know they don't have to frantically try and get down every note and every word that the lecturer says. Using these little text boxes as quick writes is also a really useful way in helping those more introverted students have a voice. They get to make sure they answer all the questions before the more extroverted people begin talking and driving the conversations. The beauty of these H5Ps is, as you saw here, there's an option to show solutions. You can also embed small quizzes, activities, drag and drops, and a range of different tools to test your students' knowledge as they go. All in all, they're actually really quite fun. I also tried very hard to include a video at the end of each class. These videos are invariably sitcoms or popular TV shows from these students' era, and they involve actually applying the skills they've learned in class, as this is a class about active listening and interpersonal communication. So they can see and analyze live what is going on in their sitcoms. It shows how versatile the content they're learning in class is, and it allows them to apply it in a humorous but meaningful way. So that's more or less how we got from design to development in as brief as possible. Next week I'm going to go through the assessments that I've developed and also how I've scaffolded them to make sure students have the best opportunity to succeed. Hopefully it might give you some ideas for the future. I hope you have an excellent Easter break, regardless of whether you celebrate Easter or not. Enjoy the long weekend, and I'll see you next week to discuss assessments. Bye!